I mentioned, like I was in the military, the psychological piece of how do I go from a problem to a solution?
Losing weight, building muscle, losing body. If you don't like chicken and you don't like broccoli, that's a horrible request.
Hi, I'm Delisa, Faith and Sparkles World, and welcome to another episode of the Conscious Leader Podcast. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you like this episode, click the like and subscribe button. So today I have my guest, Mary Louise Rose, who is here today. And I would just ask her to share with us who she is, who she serves, and what impact and influence she's having on her life and community.
Super, thank you. Such an honor to be able to be here and share with your audience. I am Mary Louise Rose. I go by Mary Louise, both double first name. And I am a health coach that I've also been trained in life coaching. And I'll share a little bit later about the other certifications and things like that that I've acquired along the way. But my ideal client is the corporate working woman that has been so focused on career and where she's headed that her health has kind of taken a back seat. But she's at the point now where she realizes that maybe there should be some attention placed on her health and what she's doing and being healthier as an individual. And so that's where I get to come along beside her and we work together on a personalized approach. That's one big thing for me is it is personalized. No two clients have the same coaching plan. And we work together to figure out nutrition and what foods she likes to eat. So often people are told, oh, go eat chicken and broccoli and you'll lose weight, you'll, bustle up. And if you don't like chicken and you don't like broccoli, that's a horrible request. And so I like being able to work with her on foods that she enjoys and how to make it so that it's something that's an enjoyable process while losing weight, building muscle, losing body fat. And we look at nutrition like I spoke about. We look at fitness, and I'm all about moving your body in ways that you enjoy. If you're not a gym person, I don't want to tell you or make you go exercise in a gym. If you prefer a gym, well, then I'm not going to tell you you need to do at home workouts. So it's like figuring out what works for you. And then also, too, like if you have a spouse or significant other, if you have kids that come into the equation, looking at ways to maybe do family activities so that you can be that role model or that partner for the other people in your life. And then we also look at mindset and we look at stress relieving activities. And the big overarching goal for my clients and my coaching is long-term sustainability. I want to be able to equip them with the tools and the understanding to be able to work with me and then be able to carry that on in their life as, things come up, as birthday parties happen and, vacations and things like that. And I don't want them to feel bad because they cheated or they ate this thing that they shouldn't have. And, so often things like that we hear. And it's, we get one life. And so we should enjoy it. We should eat the foods that we want to eat in moderation, not deprivation, being mindful of how we're fueling our body. And so that's the beauty of the way that I coach is it is personalized. We work together. We work side by side and we work through those challenges as they come up as we're working together. And, creating that long-term sustainable lifestyle that's not, oh, I'm on a diet and I can't have that, things like that. Getting that out of the picture and, helping to make it so that you're feeling good in your body, what you're doing, and that it is long-term and sustainable.
Yeah.
So that's what I do with my
There
coaching.
you go. And you mentioned something about works like your ideal client is the woman executive. which is wonderful. And your age group really, and I'm not saying that you could be younger or older and not be executive. You can, but really your audience age range is like perhaps 30s, mid 30s, and somewhat into like the early 50s, mid 50s for women. And so you're dealing with women or working with women, as I can rephrase it, because I'm in this category, that are either premenopausal, menopausal, or postmenopausal. So there's a whole lot of things happening in that like 20 age gap range, correct?
Right. Oh, yes, definitely. And we take that into consideration. The biggest thing that I teach my clients is being curious about your body and how things feel and what feels good to you and what feels like it's working and what doesn't. And you can always pivot and you can, work on different things. And, my preferred container to work with people is a 3-month
Mm-hmm.
program because that allows for that time to do trial and error and like I said, then they are creating that sustainable long-term fitness or health, overall health. And that, like I said, we're getting curious about what really works with their body and also recognizing that it can change
Yes,
because if you're premenopausal, it can
yes,
change as things begin to change and progress forward with hormones and things like that. And so it's key to know that, especially for women, we go through a lot of
yes.
changes and a lot of like, oh, what worked last week or last time I wanted to tone up isn't necessarily working
Mm-hmm.
now. And I get to figure out what that looks like for me now.
100%. And that 90-day gap is really more so like a training ground, like you're laying that foundation. Because and I will just use an example when Tony Horton, uh, he was with Beachbody, now he does his own stuff and he has his own supplements. When he did it, he came up with this 90-day program. He was very specific with his the workouts that we're doing. Of course, this was for at home. It was targeted for that audience and weight training, but the nutrition piece was very key. And sometimes in his videos, because I did the oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the program that it was, but anyways, it was 90 days, and it was like one of their most popular programs. But he he like started to really focus in on the nutrition. That's where with Beachbody at that time, they were like talking about nutrition. They had the little pamphlet stuff. So when you mentioned who your audience is and you were speaking and you're saying 90 days, I was like, it just like I had a trigger moment, a connection
Right.
point.
It's like, oh,
Yeah, because and this
yes.
was many moons ago that I did his program, right? And I enjoy his workouts and stuff, but it just reminds me of the nutrition piece. And as a woman in my 40s, nutrition is so much more key for me. Like now, I'm more attracted and wanting, like my body's physically saying, I want to eat more vegetables. So I grew up eating meat products, not a lot of meat products, but some meat products. In my 20s, I would have some more like the chicken. I started eating beef like in my 20s because of the people that I was around and they would eat beef and I didn't really know much about it, but I didn't have too much of that red meat. And then in my late 20s, early 30s, I went vegetarian slash vegan. I ended up going vegan and I really loved that. And that was because of the environment I was in. And it was so easy for me to go that route. And that's why I started to appreciate my body because, yes, I was working out, but I didn't have to work out as hard, if that makes sense. And I was starting to do a lot of the activities that I love to do, like the dancing and swimming and walking and like all those things. It just energized me because of the food that I was eating. And then I moved back to a big city in my like mid 30s, and it was very hard for me to have vegetarian or vegan foods because I couldn't find like a store close to where I was that was having it. I mean, the grocery store has vegetables and stuff, but it's very different when you're in an environment that supports uh, a certain kind of way of living and eating and being versus when you're like in a very urban, densely populated area where you're just like everything is quick. So I had a very hard time, and I went back to eating meat because it was just easier. And I found that after I had my daughter, now I'm pregnant, back to exactly what you're saying, like our bodies are going through so much. I lost the weight because my time in the military, I worked out a lot. I was moving a lot more. So I went back to that old way of thinking of like, oh, if I just exercise, for 4 hours in a day or 5 hours in a day, like I was working out like 2 hours in the morning, sometimes 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon, go hang out with friends because you're moving your body so much, right? Like you exercise before you go to work, and then in the work, you're doing work. And, anyways. And so with that, that's what I knew. So I thought it was just working out, and I did lose the weight. But then there were times I was getting bloated for like no reason because of sometimes it was just the food I was eating, and so I had to learn about nutrition, and I'm still learning about nutrition. And now I'm in my 40s. Before I hit my 40s, my late 30s, I started like sweating a lot. People were like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, I don't know what's going on." They're like, "You're sweating. Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm okay." But then I start to sweat now more, and it's like you're just sweating all over your face, everything. Like you need to be like you need to go to the Arctic just to cool your body down. Um, but with that said, that's when I started to take the journey. Okay, let me get a coach. The first time I wanted to get a health and wellness, like a fitness coach, and they were telling me about like portion sizes and this and this, and because it was online, I found that very hard for me, right? Like, so everything that you're saying, I share this because I understand your business, not from your perspective, but from a client's perspective, or a potential client's perspective, who's going through these hormonal changes, these lifestyle changes. You have a family now, either starting a business or probably getting promoted in a senior level position or junior level position. So there's a lot more responsibility, and the first thing to go is exercise or movement and food. Food usually the first thing to go. What are your thoughts on that? I know I went on for a bit, but what are your thoughts like when a client comes to you, just like, I explained my process, and they're like, you know what, I'm at my wit's end. This is it. And I just love my body right now because it's not going to do anything for me. Like it's helping me. I love my body, but I can't, like, I'm not going back. I can't. Nothing's working. What do you say to a client?
Right. So, very first session when I start working with them is we do a personalized health roadmap, which allows us to then dive deep into the nutrition. And like I spoke about earlier, what foods will you eat or will you
Mhm.
try and things like that. And we also look at the fitness piece and what activities are you going to do to move your body, and we talk about the stress reducing activities, the mindset stuff. And like I said earlier, I focus on all
Yeah.
three because to me, when you're looking at health, it's like the trifecta. It's important how you're feeding and fueling your body, what you're eating. It's important how you're moving your body, and which is with the exercise. And then, the mindset and the mental piece and the stress reducing, because, so often people like they'll hire a personal trainer, but they're not looking at the nutrition. They're not looking at the mindset piece. And that's so important because, we think we're so sophisticated and advanced, but truly, at the core of things, we are very caveman like, if you will. And, the fight, flight, freeze. And when you're not reducing your stressors and you're not allowing yourself to calm down and your nervous system to settle, that your body's going to go, oh gosh, what are we, preparing for? What's getting ready to attack us? And so it's going to hold on to all of the food that you eat, and it's going to hold tight, and especially around the midsection and the belly.
Yeah.
And, so often, especially for women,
Yeah.
we don't want to carry weight there,
No.
put it on our butt, put it
Yeah.
on our
Yeah.
chest, but not in our
Yeah.
midsection. Like, that's not where we want it.
Mhm.
And so often it's because of the stressors,
Mhm.
and especially with the executive woman, like we, talked about, she's got a lot on her. If she's got, kids, she's probably got a spouse, significant other. She's got the work demands. And so there's a lot of stressors, and it's learning how can I work with that? What can I do to reduce my stress? What can I do to create a good morning routine and evening routine? What can I learn to, use my breath to calm down my body when things get stressful and hyped up? And so, like I said, that first session with my client, we look at the nutrition for them. We look at fitness and exercise for them. We look at the mindset, the mental, the stress relieving activities, and we come up with that plan. And then we say, okay, what are the goals? And those of us I was in the corporate world before, and you like the goal
Yeah.
setting. You like the quantifiable goals to be able to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do, this many times a week for this long, or, when it comes to nutrition, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to eat this quantity of that, things like that. And so that's where we create those goals so that she can then say, okay, I did that exercise that I said I would do. I did that nutrition that I said I would do, and be able to check that box. And then when we meet each week, it's reviewing those goals and how did you do? Where can I support you? How can I help you? And then there's also education.
Yeah.
There's so much information out there. We oftentimes get overwhelmed and like fatigued with what this says, this says
Mhm.
that, and it's and it's also, like you alluded to, it's different for us and our bodies. What works for one may not work
Yeah.
for another. Like the keto diet is the perfect example. Some people had great success while they were on
Yeah.
it, and some people didn't. And then some people, they had success while they were on it, and then they went back to normal life, and they found, oh, that didn't work after all, because now I've put on all that weight that I lost and then some.
Mhm.
So it's all about being curious again, that personalized approach, learning what works for you, learning what works for your body. And, like we talked about too, with the
Yeah.
hormones and changes and those things too, taking that into account. And so that's the beauty of it, is being able to work with them individually and setting those goals, seeing that progress. And, the other piece of it too is the executive woman. She has business lunches. So I'm going to teach her how, when you go out to a restaurant, if you want that meal to be a healthier meal, even though you're eating out, this is what you need to consider. This is what you need to look at. And it's not, again, it's not about deprivation. I'm not going to tell my clients you can't have that glass of
Mhm.
wine with a prospective client or at happy hour or whatever. But we're going to look at other options. We're going to look at, if I want this happy hour to be healthier, what is a better beverage choice that I
Yeah.
can make, and things like that. And so it's all about just learning how to take the health journey and put it in with
Yes.
life, and not go, oh, well, I'm going to try to lose 20
Mhm.
pounds in a month,
Yes. Yeah.
and I'm going to deprive myself, and I'm going to, lose all this weight, and then go back to what I was doing before, because that's just going to create that yo-yo and
Yeah.
that weight going up and down. And there's going to be no happiness and satisfaction there, because it's not long-term, it's not sustainable.
100%.
And so, yeah, so that's my biggest thing with prospective clients and clients is, it's, let's work together, let's create something personalized for you, and something that you can live with ongoing and make it sustainable. And like I said, looking at that nutrition piece, that fitness piece, and then the mindset, stress relieving activities.
Yeah.
And, we talked about the executive woman, but another client that I enjoy working with, like classification, is so many women in the corporate world like if they come out of college and let's say they've been a student athlete and they were told what to do for exercise
Yeah.
and they were told what to eat, they come into the corporate world and they're like,
Yeah.
well, my health was really good and I felt really great and my body fat was low. But now I'm in this world and, maybe they have a sedentary desk job and they're like, now what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's here to tell me what to do, how to do it, and what to eat. So, I enjoy those clients too. And on the other end of the spectrum, maybe she's preparing for retirement or just in retirement and the structure has changed. She's not going to the office, and she's like, oh, well, now what do I
Yeah.
do? And so it's really cool because it is so personalized that we can look at, okay, where are you, what are your goals, and how can we create a plan that's going to work for you and something you're going to enjoy.
Of course.
Movement exercise
Yeah.
doesn't have to be dreaded. It doesn't have to be something where you're like, oh, I have to go exercise. And, it can be fun.
Yes.
Pickleball is a big thing right now, and so many people are enjoying it. And it's great exercise and it's great for
Hmm.
socialization. And, like with so many people go to golf to network and work with like prospective clients and things like that. Pickleball is a great option for that. It gets you moving, it gets that social piece, it gives you an opportunity to, again, maybe spend some time with a prospective client or a client and, putting those things together and
Yes, of course. Yeah.
capitalizing on the best of both
Yeah,
worlds.
of course.
So again, it doesn't have to be dreaded. It can be something that you enjoy and it long-term sustainable. That's the big
A
thing.
100%. And I like the nutrition part because for me it's bigger on the nutrition. And I'm sure you get this with your clients. So going back from me vegetarian, vegan, it's been very, very helpful to me because that's what my body always needed and is sustained with. So there's that. I'm going to go back to the beginning before you started, you know, the business. Why did you decide I want to help women? I know you were in corporate, you mentioned that. Why do I want to help women with their health and wellness?
So for me, and it's such a heart moment for me when I was mid 30s. I'm proudly
Yeah.
45 now. My daughter was in middle school, and it was never a weight thing for me personally. It was, I wanted to tone up, I wanted to feel better, wanted to be more confident. Like you mentioned earlier about like the dancing and in the movement and, feeling better in that. And that was my motivation. Plus, being able to be that role model for my daughter and showing her how you can have that fitness piece and the nutrition. And so I got started on my personal health journey. And I was amazed at how something I felt like was always shown to me as this big undertaking and this big thing that you had to do. What really wasn't that hard. I started again, my daughter was in middle school, single mom, and so I started with doing exercise at
Yeah.
home, and I found that I really enjoyed it. And started working on my nutrition and learning the combinations of foods and how to best fuel my body, and working on the mindset piece. And so, as I had success and I had the ahas, it was, I want to share this with others. I don't want to keep this to myself. Others need to know. And why not me? And so that's when I got started into coaching and being able to work with others and take away that overwhelm of all the noise that we hear, all the things that we feel like we're supposed to do and should do's, and just really simplify it and allow them to see that progress and those changes. And I said earlier, additional certification since I've added in a yoga certification. I have my 200-hour, and I lead 4 yoga classes a week. So that's a great way, one, for exercise, two, for the mindset, the mental piece, and reducing stress. I also do Reiki, which is energy work. And again, that's the stress relieving piece. And I also work with essential oils and incorporating the power of scent and aromatherapy and what that can do. An easy example is you can use lavender oil to calm and relax you, and then you can use peppermint to energize and give you that like second wind, if you will. And so it's a great way to be able to work with clients and say, hey, just roll some essential oil on your wrist, sniff it, and let the scent, let the aromatherapy really work for you and help you as you go through your health journey. And it's beautiful what I've been able to bring into my work, in addition to the health and life coaching, and being able to support my clients on that holistic approach, like I talked about with the nutrition, the fitness, and the mindset.
Yeah.
And it's been a wonderful journey and so much fun. And the beauty of it is I don't know where it's going yet. What else I'm going to be interested in, and what things are going to come across my path to that I want to share with clients.
100%. So you keep it kind of open. You're not keeping it open. You know specifically what you want to do, which is the mindset, the nutrition, and the body and the movement of the body. But with each client, you are open to the possibilities of where they need support. Some may not need help with fitness, but they may need help with mindset. Yes, or some may need help. So then you focus heavily on the mindset, and then you still touch on or work with the fitness and the nutrition piece. And then I'm sure as the with after every 30 days, something shifts, and so perhaps you're cycling through each area, either mindset, um, nutrition, or fitness. And so I like that. I personally like that approach because when I went to work with I went with two coaches. I worked with a fitness coach, and then I worked with a wellness. I worked with the wellness coach first because I thought it was my mindset. No joke of a lie. I thought it's my mindset. Maybe I am thinking of things wrong because with the business when I started at that time, I was so zoned in, like the corporate woman, and I worked in the corporate space for many years. Where like, okay, what's happening? Let me fix this. Let me get the solution. So I was extremely sedentary. I was still working out because I love working out. It wasn't hard for me to work out. It was easy, and so that part wasn't it. But I still gained weight because of the stress, because my body was changing, because a huge part was the nutrition. I was consuming a lot of sugar. Um, and so I thought, okay, it's my mindset. And I went and I did the mindset stuff, and I think it was okay because I know how to do that, and I've been through that process before. Because, as I mentioned, I lived in an environment before where it was like the environment was more supportive of that whole holistic style. And so I learned about mindset and how to support my mindset. So when I started working with someone in wellness, very nice and they're good, but I needed something deeper. I was like, what's going on? And so then I worked with a fitness coach, and it turned out to be a guy that I worked with, which I was like, I don't need to work with a guy. And now I think about it in retrospect, I should not have been working with a guy. I needed to work with a woman who was actually, been through it, right? Or going through it. And she understands it because she's a woman. And the reason why I worked with him, it was online. He was doing the online coaching. And I didn't have a problem with the fitness piece. And I would say, I don't have a problem with the fitness piece. So then he started working a bit more on the mindset piece, on the more so of the psychology bit. So he just kind of touched on it a little bit. And I found value from a little bit of psychology, but I do my own reading as well. And I do my own studies. And because I know my body, as I mentioned, like I was in the military. And then not only just being in the military and with the training, like I actually like moving my body and I want to eat good. Like, so it was this, but the in-depth psychological piece of how do I go from a problem to a solution? Why was I eating, right? To like, that's what, like when I was eating, I was like, oh, the answer, right? so, So that's how I get my solution. I don't know if you've come across that. And so, he shared a bit, and I was like, okay. But it took, I think we were 6 months we worked together. And I was like, it took a very long time because he was still trying to figure me out. And I'm like, look, I'm not 20. Okay. I'm not even in my 30s. And he was younger. So, but I did it because, you're in the same, you're like either friends in the same platforms, or you're in the same group, and people start popping up. So you start supporting, right? But anyways, long story short, I got the bit, but I started doing a more reading on my own, and I was like, okay, I don't need this. But what your perspective of how, and your approach, as I mentioned, is so valuable for women who, as you mentioned, they're either transitioning from the university and they were a student athlete, or maybe they transitioned and they spent maybe 5 years in the corporate space, and they try to keep up because they think more exercise. That's our go-to when we're young, right? More exercise equals value or whatever. Um, and and it becomes challenging because maybe they get married and now they have to buy a house, or birth babies and all these other things with life, and then it's like, hey, why am I softer here? My legs never used to touch, why is it touching now? Anyways, so yeah, thank you for sharing that.
So true. And another corporate woman that is on my heart is the remote
Yeah.
employee. And since 2020, it's so much more common. And unfortunately for the remote employee, there's such a tendency to get up, sit down at your desk for
Yeah.
hours, not get up, maybe not even eat
Mm-hmm.
lunch, and, continue working into the evening. And so, again, kind of like you talked about, the legs are touching, there's
Yeah.
softness. And so it's like, how can I work remote, enjoy that, and still take care of myself and be able to implement healthier activities. And yeah, it's such an interesting dynamic
Mm.
now with, especially for women and wanting to be successful in the
Yeah.
workplace and taking care of themselves and having the family obligations, whatever they may be, and just learning how to balance all of those pieces and recognizing that life happens and things are going to come at you, and it's how you work with
Yeah.
them. And know, and like we said, with women hormonally, with menopause and the different phases and things like that, it's a journey in and of itself. And if you can put your health as a priority while you're going through it, it's that much better.
100%. 100%. Coming up to some of my final questions here today. What is your thoughts on being a conscious leader? What does being a conscious leader mean to you?
um I think, especially in this day and time, is being aware that those that you're leading come from very varied and different backgrounds, and being somewhat sensitive to that, and taking into account that your life experiences are yours, but theirs are theirs, and there's no right, there's no wrong, and just being conscious
Mhm.
and aware of how you're interacting with people. And you know like, we're both here in the US, and it's such a melting
Yeah.
pot anymore, and just being aware that there's so many cultural differences, there's so many background differences. I mean, just like, take you and I, we were both raised probably very different.
Mm.
Like, we could find things that were
Mm.
the
Yeah.
same, but find differences. And so, what you come to the table with versus I come to the table with, they're going to be very different. And so, as a leader, recognizing that and being sensitive and conscious and aware of the differences that people are coming to you from, and just being mindful and sensitive.
100%. And I believe it's Mother Teresa that said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And that's the perspective that I'm hearing from you as you talk about being a conscious leader, and that's really like having that simple statement right there and implementing it in your business, kind of like as that foundational, that going back to, and as well as your why, your story as why you started. It makes it so much easier for when you are working with clients, and or just getting a conversation with a prospect to best support them and be open, because you're being the change you want to see in the world. So they're all automatically magnetized to you, right? Because they're like, hey, well, I want to be the change that I want to see in the world. And they're doing that through the foods that they eat and their nutrition, their health and wellness, through mindfulness and mindset. And then, of course, through the physical, making sure that the body is strong, whole, and can fulfill the demands needed, not just the regular demands, but all the other demands when you're going through stress, premenopause, menopause, postmenopause, wherever you are in your journey. So thank you so much. How can we get in contact with you?
So I am on all the socials. I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, um, Twitter,
Yes.
X. And I the another great way is my email. It is ML for Mary
Mhm.
Louise, and it's at marylouisecoaching.com. So that's a great way just to send me a message. Let me know that you saw this and any questions you have, or if you're interested in more information on how to work together. Again, I'm going to get personal because, like I said, it's personalized approach. And so we're going to talk
Yes.
about, what are your goals and why is your goal that, so often as women, we have this number weight loss that we have in our mind, and, it's always interesting why that number, what is that going to do for you? And so, we would start having that conversation and talking about, okay, what are your goals and why? So, yeah,
Well,
looking forward to connecting with your audience.
absolutely. And I'm sure that they're going to enjoy and learn so much, not only about your why, but how you can support them on their health and wellness journey, because you were very thorough, which is great. Mary Louise, I thank you so very much for joining us today on the Conscious Leader podcast. Don't forget, all of Mary's information will be in the captions, so you can reach out to her and connect with her either on her social medias or via email. Have an incredible day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next episode.